Beyond Synth 409.
Hey there, welcome to the show. This is BeyondSynth. I'm Andy, I host the show, and today I am catching up with the Astral Stereo Project, a.k.a. Neil, Mr. Neil Holdsworth. He's been on the show a few times, I dig his music, and he just came out with a new album called Turnaround, which is really good. It's a complete listener experience, and I suggest people check it out, and we'll be going and chatting with him in just a second. I just have some patrons to shout out, because we got some new patrons, and I feel bad because I feel like, these episodes are all late, but let's not forget that if you join the BeyondSynth Patreon, there's also a bunch of bonus content, like my ongoing series with Color Theory where we listen to Depeche Mode. By the time this episode drops, there should be 5 of those now. I think I'll be posting the Black Celebration episode soon. So I would just like to say a merry welcome to the new patrons of BeyondSynth. We got Patrick Vigent. Is that how you say your name? Patrick Vigent. In the Johnny 5 Club. Patrick, thank you for supporting the show. Then we got Bob S. and Andreas Back-Reimer. Is that how you say that? You can let me know. Am I saying your names wrong? Bob, did I say your name wrong? I'm hoping I got that one right. But thank you so much for supporting the show. And a few more members of the Johnny 5 Club. We got Pip Dig. Hey, Pip Dig. Long time no see. I know Pip Dig because he comments on the SoundCloud, a lot like Tronlek, who also became a member of the Johnny 5 Club. So thank you all for supporting the show. Tronlek and Pip Dig, cool guys, cool show. So don't forget, join the BeyondSynth Patreon, man. There's stuff for you to listen to there, and it'll also make you feel good to support the best synthwave chat show there is. Now, I don't have an officially written statement for this, but it appears that on a recent episode of BeyondSynth, we may have played some AI music. I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to fully call the person out, but a listener brought it to my attention, and when I further inspected the artist account, it seemed as though it might be AI music. Now look, I don't have an official statement on this. Obviously, if you've listened to the show, that you know I use some AI tools to come up with little silly jingles. I use generative AI in Photoshop to help me with the promotional posts for the podcast. And I do think some of these AI tools are really cool. So I'm not one of those anti-AI guys. I use the tools. I find them useful. I find ChatGPT useful. I find the generative AI tools useful. However, obviously the point of this show when playing music is to be supporting real artists. There's no point to me just playing AI music. That defeats the purpose. It's meant to be supporting artists. So obviously there's some complicated issues here, and I do understand it. Believe me, I understand why there are people who are very anti-AI. I'm just being honest in that I use some of these tools. But here's where I draw the line. Number one, it's very foolish to be playing an AI artist in place of a human artist on this show. I don't see the purpose of that. I think making little dumb jingles and stuff, it's just for fun. I'm not selling it. I'm not pretending I made it. You know what I mean? That's the weird thing, is when people try to pass off a fully AI creation as just like, oh, I made this thing. Look how talented I am. It's sort of like if you go into an image generator and type in like cat on a rocket ship and then you just sell that. To me, it's a laziness. Even if the image is cool, it's a weird laziness. It doesn't inspire me. It doesn't excite me. There are AI tools that do inspire me, honestly. And I see it from the positive aspect of being able to empower independent creators who don't have budgets. You know, it'll be pretty neat if you make a little short film and you can use AI to say like, make the house look like it's on fire, and you have like some realistic fire effects or something for your little film. and you don't have any money. And so it's like, hey, like that's stuff like that is kind of cool. But what I don't think is cool is when people just generate the whole thing. You know, here's a short film I made, and it's just because they typed in AI prompts for every shot. You know, that to me is not the same. And again, I do intend to have a more detailed AI conversation at some point with some knowledgeable people at some point, because again, it's a complicated topic. But my official stance right now is I don't think it's appropriate to pretend you made music that you didn't make and then pawn it off on people's podcasts or their playlists like, hey, I'm a real talented artist and here's a song I made and you didn't make anything. Like, that's absurd. So that's all I have to say about that. And now it's like a lot more work for me, right? Because now I have to fucking... now when I vet an artist we play, I've got to like look at their page so closely and think like, how come this singer sounds different from song to song, but it's like the same guy? And then anyway. This has nothing to do with my conversation with Astral Stereo Project, by the way. I just thought I would say it. And obviously this is going to be an ongoing discussion. We knew it would happen sooner or later, and it happened very recently. So, okay. Anyways, thanks for listening to the show. Let's listen to an Astral Stereo Project track, and then when it's done, we'll be in conversation with Neil. So you know what? I want to play... This is one of his songs that's always just been stuck in my head ever since I heard it, and occasionally this chorus just pops into my head from time to time. The song is called Fast Times from his album I Dream in Technicolor. This is the Astral Stereo Project with Fast Times.
Nothing is secret now. All the people
And I'm here right now with the Astral Stereo Project, catching up with Mr. Holdsworth. Neil, how's it going?
I'm going good, mate. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Me too. Can't complain.
Well, that's good. We can have like a nice positive episode then with no complaints, just hopeful musings.
Apart from all the complaining I've just done before the chat, yeah.
But nobody heard that.
Yeah,
That's bonus content for the patrons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's the stuff people pay the big bucks for. Yeah, I don't believe it either. What have you been up to since I spoke with you last?
Well, I think it's about 3 years ago since we last spoke. Moved house, changed job, released 3 albums. Just mooching about, really.
You know, today I just came in with like, we'll talk about Turnaround. But if it's been 3 years, I wonder if there's some other tracks we should probably talk about from the interim time.
Yeah, I think I'd just done Sorcerer when we last caught up. It was me and Sam, wasn't it?
So we did play some of Sorcerer, right?
Sorcerer, yeah, I think so. And then we did a Halloween album, like a heavy retro Halloween special album. Then I did Sometime in My Mind, and then Turnaround's just come out. So yeah, it's like 3 albums since we last spoke.
Shit. Okay.
And I was just telling you how I was like, I'm slowing down, you know. And actually, 3 albums, and so I'm still doing an album a year, so I'm not exactly doing out.
Yes. Well, yeah, I played a bunch from the fucking Mind of Eddie Quist, but I know that came out before.
Yeah, it was before Sorcerer, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, whatever. Look, so you moved house. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I was, obviously, Sam and I just got married, so we were renting, and then I bought a house not long after. Really, we spoke on your show. So been in here almost 3 years now.
How's that going? You get like a little house or a big house, or what do you?
It's bigger. It's a bit further, sort of out of the main town. It's kind of close to like a little village. It's quite nice, so we can go for like long walks, and then it's really really pleasant.
Well, that's cool.
So it's a nice area, yeah. It's quiet, and house is nice, and I've got me a little studio set up now. Sam got me a desk because my old setup was just chaos. So she was like, "We're gonna have to get you set up properly." So yeah, she sorted me out.
Nice. And how is your wife?
She's good. She's good, yeah. We're just plodding along, you know how it is.
Well, that's cool.
She's still doing a course, and yeah, we're been married almost over 3 years now.
Well, that's lovely to hear.
All thanks to you.
It's got nothing to do with me. But like, I get confused because she always has like 8 different social media things. And so I'm always like,
yeah.
is she still going by this or that? Like, cause I don't know. Does she still do Polaris or is that over now?
She isn't doing it at the moment, I would say.
Okay.
So it's a never say never, but at the moment it's kind of taking a backseat for her.
I'm so bad. I can barely and sometimes don't remember people's names who I talk to regularly. Like it's getting to that point now where like there'll be times where, you know, I'm literally going to message someone who I know and who I chat with on a regular basis. And I'm like, what the fuck's their name again? Like I blank on their name. So that is to say that when people have like 14 different aliases online, I just, like my brain won't even.
Yeah.
it doesn't even bother.
Well, I'm Neil.
Yep.
And I'm the Astral Stereo Project.
Well, we should say this new album of yours, Turnaround, it's really good. And what I loved was you sent me this as just wave files.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, I don't even think I knew what the album was called. I just had like these tracks. And the album sort of has a theme, and I think I correctly, this doesn't happen very often, discerned the theme just by listening to the music, because when I messaged you back and I'm like, this would be like cool music in like a fucking David Lynch movie. and then afterwards, and I read your little synopsis thing. Like, how would you describe the sound of this one? Because it's kind of got like some retro rock kind of vibes, with like the 50s kind of thing, and there's some synth in there, obviously, and it's cinematic in parts. Like, what would you say it is?
I sent you it initially as like friends. I just wanted your opinion on it, really, because I thought it was. I know it was a bit different to what I normally do, but I got the idea for it. It was about 2007 when I started the album, and I got into sort of David Lynch around that time. It was like Twin Peaks, and especially Lost Highway and Wild at Heart.
Oh yeah.
And I was only doing like demos then on my own. I wasn't releasing anything, but I started like this. I'd always have project names, so there'd be like albums, so I could keep a track of, you know, where I was with stuff. And I started this project called Turnaround. So there's some songs that are on the album that are from back in like 2007, like Falula, is one. So yeah, I just got fascinated with the idea of David Lynch has a lot of 50s elements to his. If you listen to the Twin Peaks soundtrack, there's a lot of 50s sort of influences there. And then if you look at a lot of 80s movies, there's a bit of a nostalgia for the 50s. Like if you think about films like Top Gun, I mean, it's got the famous 80s soundtrack, but there's a lot of 50s music in that film. There's Great Balls of Fire they're playing, and You Lost That Loving Feeling. Back to the Future has a very 50s nostalgic kind of theme to it as well. So there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, the other famous example, this is Saved by the Bell. The lunchroom was like always like 50s themes, and like they would have these guest stars that was like, it's Casey Kasem, who's like radio DJ from like the olden days, and just like, oh, I get it. It's because like the makers of this show, just like people are now nostalgic for the 80s because they're the ones, that's when they grew up and they're now movie producers and stuff. And you know, so all the people making stuff in the 80s were, you know, nostalgic for their childhoods in the fucking 50s and 60s and shit.
Spot on, exactly, yeah. And I think I just wanted to explore that a little bit, because obviously there's David Lynch influence on the story of the album, which is a musician traveling to LA, and along the way he meets various weird characters, which is kind of like David Lynch, has like a dark element to it as well. And then it goes kind of crazy. So the idea behind the album was, and it was much more crazy initially, was it would start as a normal album with maybe some 50s type songs, and then it would, as the album went on, it'd get crazier and crazier and weirder as the sort of character in the album descends into this sort of madness. But in the end, I couldn't even listen to it. I was just like, this is just too fucking weird. So I thought I'll have to, if I can't listen to it, how can I expect anyone else to? So I sort of reined it back a little bit.
Having listened to it all the way through, like that's immediately what I thought. Not even really looking at the song titles. It just really felt like, oh, like it reminded me of Lost Highway. Like it's a guy driving in this like old 50s car down just a dark highway, and you can't really see where you're going, and you don't know what's going on. And then like there is some kind of more atmospheric, spooky track that sort of, you know, follows, where you're like, it was really like, this is fucking David Lynch shit.
Yeah.
So you accomplished the task, is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Mike from Cat Temper, I think he said the same thing. I sent it to him as well, and he was like, this could be like a soundtrack at the Roadhouse or something, you know, in Twin Peaks. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. Yeah, the 50s thing is, I think it's an interesting thing to explore. Obviously, synthwave has like sort of things that you would normally hear, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. Put like a little bit of like instead of doing drums, sometimes I would just click my fingers, you know, like they did in the old songs and that. Yeah. Just little tricks or hand claps or, you know, whatever it might be, just to try and make it a bit more, something else, something a bit different.
Well, let's listen to a song and then we'll keep chatting. So we'll go right to the beginning here. You got a track, this is the first track on the album, called Lost Her in a Dream. And it's nice. I've always loved your stuff because again, I know whenever people come on this show, they always have this idea of like that, you know, either what I will accept or play, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, I don't know if this is synthwave or whatever. And for me, there's also the people like yourself who just kind of make music that just legitimately just sounds like it's from the era, more so than just actually trying to capture like a synthwave sound. Like when I listen to your stuff, it always feels like it's like some record somebody found, and there's like this, especially there's a few on this album that, fuck me, let's listen to a song and then we'll keep talking.
Okay.
I haven't gotten better at making shows since I talked to you last time, just so this is Lost Her in a Dream by the Astral Stereo Project. All right, and that was Lost Her in a Dream by the Astral Stereo Project from the album Turnaround. I'm here with Neil right now. Tell me about that song.
I think that was the first one that I wrote. No, it wasn't. It was the first one I wrote in the new version of the album. So obviously some of the songs go back 15 years. Again, that's the David Lynch one, Lost Her in a Dream. He talks about dreams and stuff all the time in his own. I think he does music as well, doesn't he? And he mentions that quite a lot in his shows and movies. Mm-hmm. So that's where that came from. And I just had this idea again of this. I tried to make the lyrics a little bit weird. The idea is that duality, that comes from Lost Highway, someone who thinks there might be a killer, but they're not sure.
Lost Highway has so many fucking hilarious moments. I find David Lynch really funny.
Oh, it definitely is, yeah.
Obviously not like every single scene or whatever. Like obviously there's some that have some pretty disturbing imagery and stuff, but there is always these fucking wacky performances, and Lost Highway's got some amazing ones. It has one of my favorite. Bill Pullman is so awesome in this scene where he's just like, Robert Blake. He's talking to Bill Pullman. He's like, I'm at your house right now. Yeah. And then it just cuts back to Bill Pullman. He's like, that's fucking crazy, man. And he gives him like a little nod. I fucking love that line so much. Just the little nod he gives him. That's fucking crazy, man. What a fucking movie. And the scene where that guy does the Superman dive like across the room. And then it cuts back and he's like impaled his head like on the corner of the table.
Yeah.
And like just the reveal of that where you're like, it's such a silly scene the way they film it. I've noticed that is like kind of like a running theme in a bunch of David Lynch films. Like there's always like this one kind of off the wall death scene that just catches you completely off guard because like fucking Wild at Heart when fucking Willem Dafoe slips on the shotgun. When we saw that the first time, I was like with a group of friends, we watched that movie, and I mean, I guess it's pretty dark to say, but like we fucking laughed our heads off and we kept rewinding that scene because it just yeah. Caught us so off guard, and the dumb look on Willem Dafoe's face because he's got the nylon over him so he looks like a demon when he like fucking runs out of the thing.
What's he called? Bobby Peru.
Yeah, man. Fucking Bobby Peru.
Such a weird character.
Yes. He is a very villainous and like evil character, but in such an intense way that it sort of becomes funny.
Yeah.
Those are probably my favorite ones, actually. I think Wild at Heart and Lost Highway are my favorite David Lynch movies, I think. Hold on.
Yeah, I think they are mine as well. And I think I watched all his films first, and then I watched Twin Peaks, which I really loved. Mm-hmm. The original series. I did like The Return as well, but in a different way. But I've always loved the original because it's just so, again, it's just straight out the door. It's just wacky. And it's not afraid to be wacky, it's just effortlessly strange. The
Return felt like it was like pure David Lynch, but not necessarily pure Twin Peaks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's the most David Lynch thing I've ever seen. So in that respect, it was awesome. But then I could see it being disappointing for people who were expecting something that felt like Twin Peaks, because it definitely did not.
Yeah, exactly. And I was really frustrated with the ending initially.
Yes.
But then I realized, it's just the way David Lynch works, Yeah. So what did I expect?
I still am a little frustrated by it, to be honest with you. It does haunt you, though. I mean, it did me. Like, it is an ending I still think about, but it is like the nerve on that guy when people just go, oh, they just wanted some resolution to the fucking cliffhanger in season 2. Then to end this third thing on an even weirder, bigger, world-altering cliffhanger, and then that's the end of the show. And it's like, yeah. At first I was like, fuck you, especially when, they were driving in the car and there was only like 5 minutes left of the show. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this episode is not building to anything.
Yeah.
And so I started to worry because it's like, well, now we're clearly not going to get a resolution to anything, and I don't even think the character we're following right now is even Cooper. He looks like him, but you know what I mean? Like, no one was acting the same, and then it's like,
But it's haunting, isn't it? It's in a way. Like, you still think about it.
I do.
And I'm the same, and I'm just really, I've grown to love it over the years. Really, if they sort of tied it up and explained everything, and everything's like happy ending, it would have just kind of forgotten about it. But I think the fact that it's left it so frustratingly up in the air and creating more questions.
Yeah, it's the nature of the questions it asks is the weird thing. It's like, because it becomes less about Twin Peaks and you're just like, wait, is that another dimension? Like what the fuck even is this? I think I did a show with a guy called the Bad Movie Bible, and we talked a bit about David Lynch and this Twin Peaks, and I loved that black and white episode.
Oh, yeah.
That one is so good. Like, my only real just main disappointment was with how cheap some of the effects were.
Yeah.
There's some effects that are so shockingly bad that it almost feels intentional. intentional. Remember when the people like disintegrate or whatever, when they fold down like paper, but it just like looks like a really cheap like After Effects special effect. Like it just looks like horrible. I don't even think this is a budget issue because it was so cheap. Like I think people would have done it for free if David Lynch had messaged people and just be like, hey, can you do me an effect of like a character disappearing? And like they probably would have been like flattered to be involved with a David Lynch project, would have just done it for free and done it better. Yeah,
I think I can't help but think, but that was intentional. It's got to be, because like you said, the style is so strange.
Yes.
That you could only think that he said, and knowing David Lynch, the sort of the way he works, when you see him interviewed and you see him behind the scenes or whatever, he's very meticulous about everything. So I can't help but think he said, I want it this way. Like a sequence in the black and white episode where the editing's very jagged and the lights are flashing and then there's no lights at all, and in the gas station. It's just so weird.
I would love to know. I almost feel like the budget was just spent on that black and white one, and part of me just feels like they just didn't have the budget for like some of the effects they did later on, because some of them were so digital and cheap looking. What do they call it again when the people are like the weird clone people? What's it word? Tupol? No, fuck me, hold on. Tulpa, T-U-L-P.
Been a while since I've seen it. But.
Yeah. And so whenever they would like get found out or whatever, and then they would like kind of disintegrate, and it would just make like a pop noise, and then like they would just have this Photoshop just still image of them slowly crunch away. Like it's so stupid when I think about it. Yeah, my theory on that whole thing is that it's like David Lynch, it's like a joke. It's like a comment on this culture of reboots and like the nostalgia of wanting like the old days back and like wanting to see all their old TV shows return. Because, we're part of an era now where that happens a lot, where they just bring shows back with whatever cast is still alive. And they do little sequels. And
yeah, the older I get and the more I see them, the more I just leave things alone, leave them be.
Oh, they definitely should. Like we are learning the lesson that like it very rarely works. And I think Twin Peaks The Return is almost like a comment on that, because it's like he's making fun of the idea, like the fact that Cooper kind of just isn't Cooper at all. He only is for about 4 minutes at the end of like episode 16 or whatever.
Dougie. Oh god.
And it's almost like it's like teasing the audience, like this is what you wanted, like all the cast is here but they're not the same, but they're like purposefully not the same, as opposed to and I don't know what's worse.
I'm glad about that, really, because if they're trying to do it like the 90s one, it would have just been silly trying to capture that spirit again. I don't think you can.
No.
So I think I'm glad it didn't try and go down that route, to be honest.
Yeah, and you can clearly see from all the franchises that have done it so far, like it never... I'm trying to think of a single example where it works. Even when they, like with the new Ghostbusters movies and they're all like kind of old, when they show up to do their little cameos and they fucked up the Star Wars one, and there's so many examples.
What do you think of Cobra Kai, maybe?
Yeah, see, Cobra Kai is an interesting one. They did do it correctly in that they embraced what it is, right? Like that it is a cheesy show, and they know they're making a cheesy show. And so it works. It also really hinged on the fact that fucking like Johnny's performance in that first season was like really good. Like, so you really empathize with the character.
Oh yeah.
And it's sort of, I think, coasted a bit on the energy that they had in the first season. Like there's a lot of shows I feel that way. Like even Stranger Things, I still think the best part of that show is the title sequence. I still feel like the whole show for me is coasting on the fact that the title sequence is so good. I mean, it's a fine show. Like Stranger Things is fine, but like I don't know that I hold it as highly as some people do. Like I think it's good, and I do appreciate the style, and I do appreciate that Netflix seems to put the most money into that show, because that last season, which I still haven't finished by the way, but like it looks very good. You can tell like, oh shit, this show has a budget and they're putting it to use, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm like you. I do like that show, but I don't love it. When the new season comes out, I'll watch it, but I'm not like, an avid fan.
Yeah, and that's how I watch it too. I mean, that's the thing. I still haven't finished it because last season was too overwhelming, because every episode was an hour and 40 minutes. Every time I think I have 2 more to watch, and then I just look at the runtime and I'm like, fuck. I think like the last episode is like 2 hours or something. Like it's like a fucking movie. I'm like, it just feels too overwhelming to press play.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, but and clearly to see there's been a lot of money spent on it and it's entertaining, but yeah, I'd probably watch it once and then move on.
But I tell you what, I would do multiple times is listen to the cool music of the Astral Stereo Project, and we're going to do that now with another track. So I want to listen to this one. It's called Driving to L.A. How do you feel about that?
I'm all for that, yeah.
It's like putting people on the spot.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to say, how do you feel about it? I don't know, yeah.
This is Driving to LA by the Astral Stereo Project. And that was the Astral Stereo Project with Driving to LA from the album Turnaround. I'm here with Neil. We're talking about David Lynch and old people in movies.
Reboots.
Yeah, reboots. So, I don't know. I think, Twin Peaks, I think it was like a comment on that. Because really, the only thing that felt like they were trying to tie stuff up was the love story with, what's his face? At the diner.
Yeah, Ed and Norma. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yes, that was like the only thing in the whole show that was like, okay, we'll tie something up and give the fans what they want, and it was satisfying. And like, but yeah, just think about all those weird scenes that were just, those are things that make me laugh about David Lynch though. Like, you know, like when the police officer guy just walks by and there's just this lady with like this sick kid or something like in a car.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of green. They almost look like a zombie. And then the lady's just yelling at the guy like, she's sick! And like just like yelling at the cop. And like,
and then she just starts like screaming, and she,
man. And it's just
goes on forever.
And then just the look on his face where he's just like, what the fuck? Like, it's almost like every episode of Twin Peaks season 3 had a sequence that went on way too long where you would just question like, what is this? And I found them all funny. I found the fucking scene of the guy spray painting shovels for like 5 minutes funny. The scene of the guy sweeping in the bar for 5 minutes. Like, you know, there's all these scenes where it just goes on so long that I start to laugh because I just feel like, oh, the nerve. It's almost like David Lynch is like just saying, fuck you, audience, and it makes me laugh. When it started to scare me was when it was like the final 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, oh, wait a second. Like,
where is this heading?
Where are we going? Because like if we're doing these scenes now and there's so much shit to wrap up, like this is frightening me. Then when things started to like that final episode is just so odd. Just odd.
But I like it more now than when I first saw it, that final episode. I think it's got just something.
I haven't actually rewatched it. Like I just watched when it was on, I would rewatch certain scenes. Because like there were some scenes that just were so funny and I watched them like tons of times. Like that fucking scene, I think I played the clip actually like a few weeks ago where David Lynch is on the phone with like the FBI guy and he's like, you gotta find Dougie, whatever his name was or whatever. And then the guy's like, man, there's so many. How are we gonna find him? And then the guy like, how many times have I told you? This is what we do in the FBI. And he starts like banging the table. And it's like... That's like that guy's only scene. And it was like such a funny scene. I just watched it so many times. I was like, this is awesome. Those are the things I love about David Lynch.
Yeah, and like I say, every episode has something interesting in it like that. The one that springs to mind is Wally Brando, that whole monologue he gives. He's sat on the bike.
Yeah, that was a bizarre one too. They made a funny use of cameos. You know what though? Despite all the stupid, like the silliness, I think that Mulholland Drive has one of the fucking most effective jump scares in a fucking movie. You know the scene?
Yeah.
In Mulholland Drive with the fucking diner scene?
Yeah.
And dude, that scene is fucking awesome. Like I rewatch that every now and again because that's like one of the most effective jump scares when that fucking crazy like bum that's like painted black like just like slides out from the side of the thing and like they don't even... They do play a loud noise, but it's not like a super loud. It's just such an effective buildup of tension. Just the fact that the guy just says this scary dream and says exactly like what's going to happen. And then they just go out back and the thing that he explained happens. Like it's so... I don't know, that scene's fucking crazy.
It's the build-up, isn't it? The build-up's so good and the payoff's just as good as the build-up. So I think he's got a thing for that, though. I mean, like in Twin Peaks: The Return, there's like bums there as well, like, and
the woodsman or something, like where they're all kind of like painted black.
Yeah,
that episode's awesome. That's the fucking got a light, and they just walk around like crushing people's heads.
Yeah, that was my favorite episode by far. I loved it.
Yes. That episode is awesome. I sort of just watch things. Like, I'm not necessarily one of those, like, film student type people where I need to, like, understand what things mean. So I don't totally know what it means. I watch it and enjoy it. I get the impression that it means something. And I think that's enough for me, is, like, just to know that things mean something as opposed to just watching something where, you know, the filmmakers don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, I think he does that. You know, he just experiments with things and then... I know there's that story about, was it Bob in the original? He was just a set decorator, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He just asked him to like, oh, you stand down there and I'll film you. And suddenly he was a new character in the show. And I think he just does things like that, you know. Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it probably doesn't, but that's how he works, I think.
It's like he does things for like the feeling. This will capture the feeling of, and I feel like that's what his whole deal is like. He makes things that feel like dreams.
Yeah.
That's the vibe. And I dig it, like, because it does feel that way. Like when you watch his movies, just like, yeah, there's just something dreamy about this, but it's, you know, obviously they're not like filming everything out of focus with like soft edges on the frame or whatever. It's just the vibe of it and the way that it shifts between weird comedy and then moments that are like really terrifying and silliness mixed with moments of extreme violence. Like, it's just such a weird mix.
He's unique, that's for sure.
Did you ever watch that Netflix little thing he did with the monkey that talked?
I saw a bit of it.
I haven't watched that in a while. I remember like that was back when I feel like Netflix didn't have a lot of content. So I feel like that's at a time where I would watch something like that. Like, hey, what the hell is this? You know what? I should watch that again because that fucking thing made me laugh. And I have not watched that in probably like 8 years or whenever the hell it came out.
No, I caught like the first 5 minutes and I turned it off. But I should have stuck with it really. It's still on there, isn't it?
Not in the mood for a talking monkey?
No, I guess you have to be in the mood for that, don't you?
I just loved how like shitty it was. Like the way that the effect that they did was so silly that it was like fucking David Lynch. That's what I say. When we used to watch his movies and get high, I would just laugh and just say, oh, David Lynch. Like that's what powered me through a lot of it. Like, because I didn't see Eraserhead until after I had seen some of his other films. I just watched it with a friend and we just laughed the whole time. And just like, fucking David Lynch. Like every time some new thing would happen and like, oh, he's cradling some weird fetus now. And there's like some lady in the pipe singing a song. And you're just like, David Lynch. Like, what can you do? Anyway. The point is that, you know, this was the inspiration for you to make some cool music.
Yeah, I'd like to say particularly Lost Highway and Wild at Heart and probably the first season of Twin Peaks. And then mix it in this sort of 80s, 50s crossover that seemed to happen in a lot of 80s movies. So it was a couple of different things as well. Another thing that influenced it was, do you have like musicians that you think you should like, but you actually haven't kind of got it yet? Like what everybody else likes about them.
Dude, I think I'm not allowed to talk about this because it makes people mad. Because like, I have those. I tried to do a series one time with Mike where, okay, so I don't get Prinze.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm just saying I don't get it. When I listen to it, it's like, yeah, this music's fine, but it's very big. You know, like when people love Prinze, they love Prinze. So I thought, okay, it'd be a fun project. We'll just listen to the albums. And I think we did one video and like, I didn't even say anything horrible. It was just sort of like, I don't love this album, you know what I mean? Like that was the consensus, but not like this is bad music. It was just, yeah, I'm just not feeling this. And the fucking comments, man, like people were crazy. It was just like, just very vitriolic and like people just didn't want to hear it. And so I feel like now there's just certain artists I can't admit that about, where it's just like, I don't get Prinze, and now I never will because people made such fucking mean comments. And I'm like, well, fuck it then. I'm not going to listen to it. Fuck you. And I'm sure there's probably some albums down the road that I would really like. I think the issue too is, you know, sometimes the radio just plays the same songs all the time. So for me, my main experience of Prinze is those kind of weird, mediocre songs on the first Batman movie that I just feel like they don't even belong in the film. Like I've always, ever since I was a kid, was like, what's up with these weird musical moments in this film? Like they just don't suit it. And that song, what the fuck is that song? What the fuck? Kiss. Is that it? Yeah, that's the song. And to me, it's like, it's weird. It's like when I listen to it, I'm just like, I just don't quite get the big deal. But it's like the song that gets played the most on the radio of Prinze. Like whenever a Prinze song comes on, it's always just this kiss. And yeah, I just don't get it. And maybe there's like some other amazing songs out there that I just haven't heard. Anyway, sorry, that was a long answer. Yes, the answer is yes to your question.
It took me a long time that there's certain artists that I just couldn't get my head around. And, you know, every now and again you'd think, I'll go and try them again. And then I just had that moment where I was like, oh, I get it now. And that kind of had an influence on the album, a bit, almost like a little bit of country in there as well, which I don't really get into normally, but I kind of understand it now, a little bit now. So this is back in like 2007 when I was first starting this album, but just at that moment, you know, and you're like, I don't get it, to oh yeah, you'll hear like a song and you'll be like, I get it now. I was ready for it, you know.
Yeah. I think I still need to have that experience with like with certain artists. I think, I don't know what it is, like there's certain sounds that don't resonate with me. It's why I like synths, just because I like that, you know, synthesizers can create lots of different noises, and so it always keeps things kind of interesting. And that's the aspect I like even with like some songs where, you know, it's mostly, rock or whatever, I still think it's always like the synth thing that kind of makes the song catchy.
Yeah.
Because guitars essentially make this, some people are going to get mad at me here, but guitars mostly make the same sound. You can do interesting things with them, but essentially like the instrument itself, it makes a specific noise. And yes, you can run electric guitars through different pedals and things, but they don't quite have the range that a fucking synthesizer has, because a synthesizer can do anything. That's why in some ways I prefer when synths sound like synths as opposed to trying to mimic real instruments. I like just the weirder noises.
Yeah. I used to do a lot of guitar music, and it was predominantly guitar music, but I've slowly moved over to sort of synths from I started experimenting in sort of late 2007 onwards, and then Astral Stereo Project started about 2012 when I found sort of synth-wave, and it kind of all came together, what I've been experimenting with, and I was like, oh, there's actually a whole bunch of people out there doing that kind of music anyway, but it was more towards 80s, and I didn't realize that that's kind of what I was pushing myself into anyway.
Yeah.
Just joining in that with what I was experimenting with, that's when I thought I'd start Astral Stereo Project.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the stuff you make, I know I say this all the time when I talk to you, but it does have this legitimate vibe that even when I'm listening to a song of yours that's, I know I end up playing more of the kind of synthy sort of tracks, because this album does have some full on that kind of 50s rock and roll kind of vibe stuff.
Yeah.
It just sounds legitimate. It sounds like it's from that time. Whereas, with a lot of synthwave music, when I listen to it, it's it evokes the 80s, but it doesn't necessarily sound like something that was made in that time, and there's only a few artists that I know that really make music where you're like, holy shit, this just sounds like music from that era, and yours definitely does. It's got that kind of late 70s, early 80s kind of vibe, and I like it.
Well, I'm glad. Well, that's what I'm going for anyway. I'm going for a retro sound rather than, I enjoy the sort of feel of a retro song. So that's kind of the vibe I'm always going for. So it's from that time rather than,
Yeah. Well, I get it. And this is my favorite track on the album. It's called Sad Romeo. And I will say, I think I said this to you on Instagram, but so far, whenever I boot up iMusic, I'll set it to random, and I have all the music that people have sent me and stuff I've downloaded, and I press play and then just let it go. And then if songs pop or whatever, I add them to a future playlist. And my process ever since you sent me this album is I always just play Sad Romeo first, and then I allow the random select to take its course. And so for the past few months now, every time I load up iMusic, I just play this song. That's just part of the procedure.
That made my day, that actually, when you said that.
Well, it's a fucking awesome song, and we're going to listen to it right now. This is Sad Romeo by the Astral Stereo Project. And that was the Astral Stereo Project with Sad Romeo from the album Turnaround. And I'm here with Neil right now. And that's an awesome song.
Thank you.
I was thinking as I listened to it, I'm like, it could have lyrics. I imagine in my head like a Tom Waits kind of voice.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think initially I was toying with the idea of lyrics on that one. Because after the sort of riff, I was struggling to think, where does this song go? But yeah, it took a while to get it right, that one, actually. It went through a few changes before the finished version. But I knew there was a song in there, so I sort of persevered with it. Sometimes I'll lose patience and just ditch it, and then I'll come back to it maybe a year later and I'll be like, that's a good song. Why didn't I finish that one? That one I sort of persevered with because I just wanted to get the balance right on it. But the guitar part was the hardest, getting the tone, because I know you're not that big on guitars, but getting that guitar tone just right, I wanted it to have like a twangy sound, but not something that was so irritating.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, when I say my shit about guitars, it's like, I just always like when there's synths involved in things.
Yeah.
So to me, there's music I like that, I like fucking folk music and like fucking Cat Stevens and shit and things that, that don't have any keyboards in them.
I love Cat Stevens, by the way.
Yeah, well, Cat Stevens is awesome. He's got some great fucking songs. To me, it's just when music is purely guitars, like in the 90s, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of synths involved, but like, it was like, wasn't cool for people to talk about it. But, like a lot of these like pop rock bands, those are the kind of the things that I really don't like. When even when I see their names, I get annoyed. Like all the bands that were like hot in the 90s, all this like a fucking Matchbox 20 and fucking whatever, like these stupid names that just, they were all just guitar music. And like there was no cool synth hook, there was nothing, whereas like, there's some songs that are like mostly considered, like people would consider them rock songs or classic rock or whatever, but there's still like an organ in there somewhere or a synth, and sometimes that is the thing that I feel like is the glue that like brings the whole thing together, even if it is just like a weird experimental sound that's like layered in the background that is like a synth or whatever. So for me, it's just, I just like the presence of some kind of synth.
Yeah, I do myself, and it's very rare that I'll just do a piano sound with a guitar. It's very rare I'll do that. I'll always try and put some synth in there, but I know I toyed with the idea of making this album not Astral Stereo, and just because I've done a few under NC Holdsworth, like more acoustic. But I thought, sod it, I'll just put it out as Astral Stereo because it's synthy enough, I think. And people seem to have liked it, so I think it was a right decision.
Yeah, I think it's fine as Astral Stereo. I mean, like, when you have things like Sorcerer and Eddie Quist and stuff like that, like, I feel like this is comparable in terms of, like, it doesn't make me go like, well, this is crazy. This doesn't sound anything like the other shit, like.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was worried about, so that's fine then. I'm happy.
I mean, even the NC Holdsworth stuff still has some kind of synths in there.
Yeah, but that was just a little bit too acoustic, I think.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I never know how to feel about this topic because I have people have tried to sway me both ways. If someone just making music, sometimes I feel like they should just do everything under one name, and it's okay. And this is just the acoustic album or whatever. I think of my favorite groups, like Depeche Mode and stuff. And like, they evolve, and some albums are kind of grungy, rocky things. And then the older stuff is pure synth pop, and there's still the same name.
Yeah.
But then also that's over a period of like fucking 40 years. And so maybe it's weird to just have like a synth pop album and then immediately follow it with just an acoustic thing. But I don't know. I feel like other bands have done it. Like then everyone just knows it as like that was their acoustic album or this was their experimenting, or like other like what Neil Young, because Neil Young has that one weird album that's like synths trans where he's like singing songs about robots and stuff, and it's like vocoded vocals and things, and it's like
really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
What? Oh, it's awesome.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yeah, it's called Trans, and it's like him experimenting, but it's the synths of the time, and so it's like a lot of vocoder stuff. There's a song about, my favorite song on there is, it's essentially a song about someone ordering like a robot woman.
Wow. I'm going to have a look at this, hang on.
The cover is a car. Neil Young Trans. It's just a bad thing to search. Yeah, there we go.
Isn't that one called Toast as well? Barn?
I think it's not received well, if I'm correct, but of course I like it because Yeah, here we are. Yeah, it says on the Wikipedia, its electronic sound baffled many fans upon its initial release. A Sennheiser vocoder features prominently in 6 of the 9 tracks.
Look at the album cover. That is synth-wave, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
It's got the sunset in the background, and the cars, and I think it looks like a DeLorean. That's one, isn't it? With the side, the door opening on the side.
Sample and Hold. Sample and Hold is my favorite song.
Right.
And it lyrically, it's like you're ordering like a robot lady off like a what do people order things from in the past? What were those things called? Fucking
catalog.
Oh my god. Yeah, see? So that's I should play a sample of this actually. It's a fucking weird album.
I'm going to listen to that. I like weird stuff like that. You know, when like someone you don't expect, like Neil Young.
Yes,
that's going to be an interesting listen. That
I wonder because I've never really read any reviews. I've just read, you know, that people obviously were like, "What the fuck is this?" Which makes sense compared to like his other music. But I never really. I don't know if there's like some like Rolling Stone article that goes like, "What the fuck is this?"
How dare he?
Yeah. That was a thing that I always sort of resented too, though. Like when I think about when I was growing up, because I knew a lot of people like that who would like the idea of hating on electronic stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like because from like the grunge age and punk and stuff, where it's like electronic music isn't real.
Yeah.
And that was something that always bugged me. That whole mentality, because it was usually said by people who were playing electric guitars and stuff, you know what I mean? So it's still like, well, you know, your instrument wouldn't make any fucking noise without electricity either, man. So like, yeah, maybe that's probably where a lot, like some of this animosity comes from, is because I always liked synth music, and there was just a chunk of my life where that just wasn't cool. It was all just fucking rock and guitar music, and like the idea of synthesizers was lame, even though all those artists had synths. Just, you know, there was no more like the idea of like the prominent synth player, like, but you know, you'd see them when they were in concert and stuff, but they would be like hidden in the background doing stuff. You know, the main thing is like there's, you know, guys on guitars or whatever, and that's the real music. To me, it's like anything that makes sounds that evokes feeling. Like, I don't care what it's made with necessarily, but the idea that like certain things aren't music just because they're digital, like, I don't know, I think
there's some like pads in there you can hear, you know, in songs and that just evoke a lot more emotion than a guitar.
The way that they come together, you know, it's like the marriage of things. Like there's a lot of songs where, you know, you'll listen and go, okay, like the guitar is doing like a cool thing, but it is that pad in the background that is sort of like giving it that next level thing. And that's what I always hear in my head. And I'm like, oh, that's what's making this awesome. But maybe, you know, other people don't, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm prominently a guitarist myself, and synths have come second, really, but I find them I can do a lot more with synths for what I'm doing now. But I get the comments still, you know, that oh yeah, it's good, that song. When are you going to start doing your proper music again? Because I used to do guitar-based music a lot, like predominantly, and people just think I've just switched to synth, whereas it was kind of like a slow process to get there. Mm-hmm. Mainly just me doing demos myself, so that they didn't see that. All I saw was I was in a band, and then all of a sudden I'm doing synth music. So as you know, occasionally I'll still get that. You know, when are you going to do your old stuff again? And I was like, well, I'm not. This is just not where I'm at anymore.
Well, I'm not. Well, let's here, listen to another one here. What do I want to listen to? Okay, this is a cool one, just because of the actual sound. You have this track called... Oh, actually, I have a question for you. You sent me a bunch of WAV files for this album.
Yeah.
I feel like you swapped a song, because I have a track on here called Spivvy Point, which is not on the Bandcamp, I don't think.
Yeah, I didn't really like the mix in the end, and I spent so long... I've probably spent, out of the whole album, I spent the most time on that song. And I was never happy with it, so I didn't really want to release it.
Okay.
But yes, I like the song, and maybe one day I'll finish it, but not in time for this album.
Should I put in brackets then, incomplete, on my file? Because I actually like that song.
All right. Yeah, just put incomplete or demo or whatever.
So what is Spivvy Point?
It's from the fog. It's Spivey Point.
Spivey Point. Okay.
Yeah, and then I just wrote a song called Spivey Point because I just like the sound of the word.
Gotcha. Now it all makes sense. Because the way you were singing it, I'm like, it looks like Spivvy Point to me, but I guess because I don't know the reference. So there you go. I'm learning today.
Yeah, and it just didn't fit with the album, I don't think. But I mean, I could be wrong, but it's just I made the sort of late decision to pull it.
Right. It's got a catchy chorus. Like I do like this Spivey Point, like it gets stuck in my head. But that's not what we're going to listen to. So we're going to listen to a track called Somewhere in the Desert. And what I dug about this one, when I say that, you make music that sounds like legitimately came from, a different time, this just sounds like some fucking prog rock song that was just ripped from a fucking vinyl somewhere. Every part of this, like you could just tell me right now, actually that's what I did and I would believe you. You're just like, I just found some old record that no one's heard of and just fucking recorded into my computer. Because that's what it sounds like. Even like there's some like noise as well, like on the track that like literally just sounds like this thing is ripped from a vinyl. And it's cool. So let's listen to that. This is more of kind of like setting the atmosphere of the album kind of track.
Yeah, this is where he's like deep in the desert and isolated, and so I wanted a track that would sort of reflect that.
Let's listen to it, man. This is Somewhere in the Desert by the Astral Stereo Project. And that was the Astral Stereo Project with the track Somewhere in the Desert, which is a cool song. I guess maybe people are getting like sort of a weird perspective of this album because I am playing them like kind of like the synthy and kind of cinematic weird atmosphere ones, but they are cool.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't expecting you to do this and invite me on the show again because I thought it was a little bit too maybe far away from, but like I say, it's your show. You put on what you want, don't you?
I don't know how to put this. It's like I don't care anymore. I just want to focus on things I like and chat with people I like. Because basically, I'm kind of more focusing now on more recent episodes of the show of just catching up with people I enjoy chatting with. I feel like that's what this show is sort of going to evolve into, just because it's also easier to fucking organize. Recently, there have been a lot of people who I've messaged because I like their music and I sort of invite them on the show, and either like they don't show an interest or it's not something they want to do. And maybe that's like a new generation thing. Like people don't necessarily want to go on a podcast or whatever. And like, because, you know, in the early days, like pretty much like everybody I messaged would just say yes. And, recently it's not been as easy, so it's so much like simpler where I'm just like, you know what, I just want to do a show that's just chill, talk to somebody I like who made cool music that we can play. You know, I don't have to fucking stress out, and then I can just, you know, focus my energies on, you know, these other things I have to do for money, prostitution.
It's an interesting point you make, though, that people not wanting to be interviewed because, I don't know, it's just a strange thing for me. Because I remember when I first started, like, just getting anybody to listen to it was great, you know, but to be invited onto a show to talk about, you know, specific tracks and stuff was amazing. Great opportunity.
And I don't want to analyze this too deeply because it could literally just be the specific people who I messaged, right? So I don't want to make a judgment now. It's just like, actually, this new generation doesn't like it. It could just literally be the exact people I messaged just weren't interested. You know, for me, what gets me excited is when I really do like someone's music. Like, that's what energizes me. Like we were talking about before, you know, like just like where you get that energy to work. And for me, that energy comes from respecting what the other person's doing. It's that sort of artistic kind of like mutual respect kind of thing that gets me excited when I do a chat or whatever. And so lately there have been some people who aren't even synthwave artists. Like I said, I had this guy who makes YouTube videos called The Bad Movie Bible, and I just love his fucking YouTube videos. They're so good. And so, you know, like I can edit a 3-hour conversation with that guy and it's like, it's fine. You know, like I don't fall asleep or whatever, because I genuinely was just like this, you know, I really appreciate this stuff. And so it's the same with like the music stuff. I don't just want to talk to anybody. I still want to like what they do. Like that is important for me. And I guess it's why my show will fucking go down in flames or whatever, because I don't ever really go after like big things. Like it's more just about actually liking the art is what's important to me. Like it's not about people's follower counts or reach or whatever. Like it's literally just, I just need to like the music.
That's a good point. I think it's important that you keep doing things that you love rather than you know what works.
Yeah, it's not good for business though.
Well, I don't have a massive following or anything, very small following, but I appreciate them because I'm just doing what I enjoy, and if they're sort of coming along the journey, that's great, you know. And it's always been like that. I don't want to happen up on a formula and just stick to it because I know it will get more followers, you know. Yeah,
the whole fucking social media algorithm stuff is like, hey, it's not for me, man. And then social media companies come and go. Like, you know, I don't have a Twitter anymore. So like I just think about all the time I spent building up a Twitter account and like caring about what I posted just to watch that fucking website I mean, that's when I just wanted to go away. Like that website should just disappear. I hope it does at some point.
Yeah, I rarely go on it now.
Yeah, it sucks. So then what? So I join another one just so that in fucking 5 years it'll fucking crap out too. You know what I mean? Like it just feels so hopeless sometimes.
Yeah, and it feels that way. But then you got like a community of people who are all getting to chat to you on this show. It's great, you know, just to talk about music and talk about Twin Peaks or whatever we want to talk about. It's just great to catch up.
Yes. No, that's the thing. That's why I sort of envision the future of this show being almost more like just like a catch-up show with like a sort of rotating, because I mean there's people who I record like every few weeks with like the same sort of people, like those sorts of things. But I feel like that's going to happen with the guests as well. It'll just be, just every few months it'll be like this sort of like rotation of people. Because like, yeah, this show for a long time has been my social life in certain respects, and so often I do catch up with people just because I just want to talk to them. Like, and that's like, I might as well record it too. Like, it's content, I guess.
In your little booth.
Yeah, in my little booth. My little well, now I think it's working okay. I made this like cardboard frame thing that I put in the window, but the sides kept buckling because it's made of cardboard, so I have to keep on like reinforcing I feel like I'm probably doing way more work than I need to. It's just that the moving blanket's so heavy, because I did think, why don't I just make a curtain that I can just kind of like roll down in front of the window and in front of the door, but it's so heavy that it needs like a big fucking metal thing, and then that's a pain in the ass. I like building things out of cardboard for some reason, but then they always fucking fall apart because they're cardboard.
You're gonna have to send me some pictures or something to sort of see what this room looks like.
Well, at the moment it's not that crazy. I mean, it's weird because my dad's house is weird. Like, every room is it's like a museum piece, and so it's a funny house to like live in, because I just realized, like, I don't know if I've like childhood trauma, but like I've broken so many things. Like, it's the kind of house where there's just statues on fucking pedestals everywhere and like paintings on the walls and things. And so I have so many memories of like having a backpack on and then like turning and then just hearing the fucking shattering of a statue. That's like a memory that's pretty consistent. Like, it just happens all the fucking, because they're just everywhere. My dad has this fascination with like filling the rooms with as much stuff as possible. So like, even if you're in a large room, you have like about a foot of space to walk, like in like a very specific path. And so whenever you're carrying something, it's just a matter of time before it's like, I fucking knocked over another statue, or I kicked over a fucking flower pot, or fucking I bumped into something and something fell off a shelf. It's just that, which is my way of saying that the room I'm in right now, it's all orange, and like the wallpaper looks like hieroglyphs, and there's like kind of boomerangs and snake skins and things on the wall. So it's like, that's what it looks like when I took the fucking the blankets off.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to see some pictures, mate.
Yeah. So I guess it's weird in its own way. But that's okay. Well, how about this? Let's listen to another song. I like this one a lot. It's the final song on the album. This is a very cinematic, evocative track. I'll say that, and it's really cool. It's called "Return to Dust." This is the movie, man. This is Turnaround. This is the final bit of the film. I'm not sure what's happening to the man. Do we have a definitive? Do we know where this story ends and what's happening during this Return to Dust song, or is this sort of left up to the audience's imagination?
I don't know. Don't know what to tell you. Do I give it away?
Well, how about this? We'll listen to it, and then we'll let the audience decide. What do you think is happening? This guy's gone crazy in the desert. He wanted to go to LA to be a rock star, but ended up on a path of insanity. And then our movie fades out, and this song plays. Is this the credits song, or is this a final scene song? How about that?
This is a credits song.
All right, so this is the end credits.
Yeah.
To Turn Around. This is Return to Dust by the Astral Stereo Project. And that was Return to Dust by the Astral Stereo Project. And I'm here right now with Neil. This is from the album Turnaround. It's a cool song. Yeah, so we've gone on a journey here. I feel like we've played enough tracks that we feel like we've gone on the journey of Turnaround. Our hero is dead, I'm assuming. But maybe he's escaped. Or maybe it's one of those scenes where you think he's escaped, where he's like driving down the road and he's like, I'm glad I got out of there. But then the camera pans back to show that he actually died in the desert. And it's just like a skeleton like sitting in the car.
That's interesting you say that, because one of the things that I saw that sort of pushed me in the direction of this rock and roll star driving to LA. Oh, he wants to be a rock and roll star. I saw this film that I think it was Jim Morrison. I think it was a film he made himself, but he never released it. So it was released as part of a documentary on the Doors, which I watched. So I guess the guy who made the documentary had edited this. So Jim Morrison's like driving in this car and he's in the desert. He's acting a bit crazy, but on the radio, from memory, it says something like Jim Morrison was found dead. The report of his death. Yeah. And I found it like really strange. The Jim Morrison was driving the car, and then on the radio is playing this, this news. Mm-hmm. So I just thought, that's kind of creepy. What if that really happened to him? It'd be really, really sort of creepy, wouldn't it? If that happened to someone, it'd be like entered this alternate dimension, and then it goes into that whole Lost Highway thing. Like where are you? What's real, what isn't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I always love a good fucking dark ending. So yeah. In my head, I always picture that kind of thing where like, hey, the guy thinks he's driving away and he's escaped, but then what you just said actually makes sense where like, yeah, the radio starts playing a sort of thing that sort of insinuates that, is this guy actually driving away, or is he kind of driving to heaven right now and thinks he's escaping, but really he's not, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I must have the thing about like downer endings, because Anti-Hero 2 was like that. I remember you telling me like, oh, what happens? You asked me, sorry, what happens at the end of Anti-Hero 2? And I was like, oh, he dies. Yeah. Like, what happens to the end of Turnaround? Well, he dies.
Well, I think also because of the era that your music reminds me of, I always bring this up all the time whenever I talk to people about like 70s movies and stuff. But like how like the protagonist always dies at the end. And like, yeah. And like that's always like the way that the story always concludes is, and then he's getting thrown out a window, or like you think everything's good and then he gets just fucking shot by a sniper on a beach. For some reason I prefer that. I do like that too, because I was complaining to my wife the other day because she likes watching like shitty horror movies. I'm not like the ones like on Tubi, but like she was watching I Know What You Did Last Summer 2 yesterday, which is like, I love seeing movies from that era just because they have like a very specific look to them.
Yeah.
And like, like the late 90s, early 2000s, where everything was like very saturated colors and contrasty, and playing this fucking, always had these like contemporary shitty rock soundtrack.
Yeah.
But there is something, again, topic we talk about all the time on this show, just like how like, a lot of new stuff has this kind of crisp digital look to it, which sort of, I don't know, it makes things feel cheap even when they are like expensive movies. Sometimes they feel a bit cheap. And so there is something about watching even fucking junk like I Know What You Did Last Summer 2, which was actually called I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. But like, when like movies were shot on film, and if it was like a theatrical, if a movie was going to theaters, they would like, all the shots would be embellished with like smoke in the background and like light beams shooting through windows, and like shots in the rain with lightning and stuff where, they had like a water machine, like just stuff that just was like the stuff that makes a movie feel like there was a budget to it. Like, this is a Hollywood film, so we gotta spray the roads with water, so we've got like the light reflections and stuff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like new productions don't do that enough. Gone are the days of, even just a normal movie just having smoke for no reason in the background. That's what I talk about, like Sunglasses Kid all the time. Like, we just always go off about smoke. Just how like every movie in the 80s was just like, it's always this smoke-filled room for no reason. Like, even if it's not characters smoking, like it could be like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie and they're just in a classroom, but there's just this kind of, there's just a light smoke in the background. And that was part of what made things feel cinematic. And even this fucking junky I Know What You Did Last Summer movie like still ends with like this fight scene in the rain with people like and lightning strikes and stuff. And why did I bring this up? Oh, I brought this up because those movies always end the same way, where like but it bothers me how you spent a whole 2 hours them trying to figure out how to stop the killer, and then it's always, oh, if we read from this book and fucking stab him with the magical knife, that'll end the curse. But then the final scene is always just the bad guy's just still alive and then just fucking grabs the girl and pulls her into a closet or something, and then it cuts to credits. So what was the point of this movie? Just some fucking weird supernatural guy just killed a bunch of people, and then they spend half hour figuring out the way to break the curse, and then they do kill the character, and then the guy dies, and then 4 minutes later the guy just isn't dead and then kills the last surviving person. You're like, well, so what was all that shit about the curse then? So they did nothing, right? So what is this? And there's a lot of horror movies that end that exact way where
True.
The killer is just still alive, jumps out, pulls the lady into a cupboard, pulls her under a bed, pulls her through a window, fucking comes out of the water and pulls her into the water, fucking a lot of ladies getting pulled in different directions and then cutting to credits.
It's all about the sequel, Andy.
Yeah, but that's what doesn't even make sense. I feel like I Know What You Did Last Summer, the first one, she also gets pulled into a cupboard or something, and then the sequel happens, and it's I guess that was a dream, and I think they're going to make a third one, so I guess they're going to say that her getting sucked under the bed was also a dream. I'm talking about this anyone's seen it.
I think I have it actually on Blu-ray somewhere. Sadly, yeah. Got them both.
I don't know what to say. I mean, I walked in and had a laugh that it was on, and there was some funny dialogue.
Jack Black's in that, isn't he? Isn't he in this? Still Know What You Did Last Summer?
I think
One
so.
Of his first films.
I didn't see that part. When I walked in, my wife just said Jack Black's in this, but all I saw was the end when some fisherman guy with a fish hook showed up, and it turned out the son was also a killer. And then they're fighting in the rain in front of a grave. And then she shoots the guy, and there was blood. So it's not like they can say oh, he had a bulletproof vest on, because there was splatters every time a bullet hit him. So maybe he's a supernatural guy with a hook. To be honest with you, I've never watched them. I only watched the ending of the second one.
Well, the first one's not bad actually. There's a really long scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar gets chased for about 20 minutes, and she gets chased all over town, and she's fighting him off for ages, and then just as when you think she's going to get away, he kills her. You just think that was 20 minutes. Yeah. You're never going to get back.
Did you think she was the protagonist? I've never seen it.
No, there's 4 of them, isn't there? So she's one of the 4 people who were involved in the accident at the beginning. So yeah, she's one of the 4 main characters.
I like to wrap this show up now with the longest discussion about I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, this wasn't... I didn't see this one coming, to be honest.
It's literally only because I walked in and my wife was watching it, and then I did. Well, I apologize. That's not only that...
No, you just made me want to watch it, that's all. Dig it out of my collection.
Well, listen... We can probably wind down. Is there a track on the album that I didn't play that you would like to play, and then maybe we'll do that, and then we'll say goodbye. And we can talk about whatever you want to talk about, because I've derailed this into some stupid places. So
you've put me on the spot now. Let's have a look.
What do we got? What didn't I play? I didn't play For Lula, Miles and Miles, Gimme Darkness, Turn Around. Spivey Point has been removed, so
yeah. For Lula's pretty good.
All right, let's do that.
You want to play that one?
And that'll give people more of a sense of the kind of the overall vibe, because I've been playing a lot of the kind of ones that have more sort of synth ones, and for Lula is a...
This is where you'll see all your listeners drop off.
Yeah. But the point is, it's you take the album as a whole, it is it's a cool thing. So anyway, this is For Lula by the Astral Stereo Project.
Promised you more than this.
And that was For Lula from the Astral Stereo Project. And I'm here right now with Neil. It's a cool album. It's called Turnaround. A lot of different styles and influences, and it's a nice listening experience. And I'm going to say goodbye to Neil now, but is there something we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered everything. We could always save it till next time. Mm-hmm. We could always talk about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. No, it's the third one called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer.
Well, no, they're making a third one. I think it's...
I thought they already had.
No, they made... what they made was a straight-to-video sequel that I don't think necessarily connects with the previous theatrical ones. And I think there's a TV show as well.
2006 straight-to-video.
But I think they're in talks right now to make a proper sequel with the remaining two actors, or it would just be Jennifer Love Hewitt and what's his face?
Freddie Prinze Jr. Sad that I know that, innit?
Yeah, it's funny just thinking back to that time. That's a guy who was in movies, a lot of movies during my high school life, and I don't think that guy is in a single thing I give a shit about. But yet I know his name. I know he's in a lot of stuff. Actually, is he in a single... Hold on, let me see. Maybe there's one of those movies that I like that I forget. Oh yeah, he's in the first 5 minutes as fucking high school kid who gets shot or something. Internet movie database. Freddie Prinze. Prinze. I didn't even think about that. Prinze. His last name is Prinze.
Yeah. With a Z. Not Prince.
I love just yeah.
That's because I'm looking at IMDb as well.
Well, he's in some TV shows. And he's in I Know What You Did Last Summer in '97. Oh, it's one of his first things. Oh, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
She's All That.
I remember that. Sixpence None the Richer. Oh, he's in the video. Fucking for Sixpence None the Richer. Mm-hmm. Wing Commander, Down to You, Boys and Girls, Head Over Heels.
People actually vote on music videos on IMDb. It's got 6.7.
I mean, isn't it just one of those stupid videos that just shows clips from the movie? He's in the Scooby-Doo films. He was in an episode of Friends, episode of Seinfeld.
54 people have rated the video to Sixpence None the Richer on IMDb.
I've always really disliked that band name. I think it's too long and pretentious. Delgo, No Heroics. Oh, he was in 24. What season was that? I don't think I actually watched that season.
I think I only saw the first one of that.
Well, the first season of 24 I think is really good.
Yeah.
But it's one of those shows that I think had it been canceled I think it was going to be, I think it would have gone down in history as one of the most famous just cult TV classics. If it was just a unique standalone one season show. But the problem was they just kept going, and even though I liked some of the following seasons or aspects of them, it went on too long and became kind of like a pastiche of itself, because it just became more of an action film show. It was an example of, when movies or video games or whatever, it's where the company takes the wrong lesson from its success. A movie comes out and it's popular and everyone goes oh, everybody loved Captain Jack, so I guess we should make all the pirate movies about Captain Jack now. And then they just make a bunch of inferior movies because they learned the wrong lesson.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a voice in Mass Effect. I like Mass Effect 3, and he is a voice in it. So that's something. He was a voice in Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So there's that.
Star Wars Rebels. 70 episodes.
All right. Well, Freddie Prinze Jr., the only thing he's in I give a shit about is Mass Effect 3, the game.
So now we've established that.
Even his picture on IMDb kind of annoys me. Look on his face. It's just weird. Okay. Well, nice talking to you.
Oh, what a way to end the show. Bit of Freddie.
Yeah, I feel bad, but like I said, I haven't gotten any better at this. It's just something I've continued to do.
That's what I like about it, you just go in any direction, really. End up talking about anything.
Yeah, mostly Mortal Kombat and GoldenEye, and I guess today, Freddie Prinze. Prinze. Anyways, listen. It's always nice to chat with you, Neil. You made some cool music, and I enjoy listening to it. And keep on making cool music. And say hi to your wife.
I will do. I'll give her your love.
And what else? I think that's all, right?
Yeah, just let you know I'm still making music. I'm going to be releasing... I've got 3 more albums lined up.
Ooh.
So it's just a case of whatever comes to the fore first.
Do these also feature music from 2007?
No, I've cleared the decks of them now, so it's very much the new stuff now. I normally have about 2 or 3 projects on the go at the same time, and then one kind of pushes its way at the front a little bit. So that's kind of how I normally work. So yeah, plenty on the go.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, good luck with all that stuff, and send it my way when it's done. We'll play it on the show.
Oh, I will. Definitely will, mate.
You have a lovely rest of the summer. I guess you're just working, right? So does it feel like summertime?
Well, we get a couple of days in England of summertime, and then the rest of the time it's kind of blends into winter and autumn.
Yeah.
You get about a handful of sunny days.
Well, enjoy those sunny days if there's any left.
Will do, mate.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, Andy.
All right, take care, dude.
You too.
All right, and that was my catch up with the Astral Stereo Project. Go check out his album. It really does have that vibe. So it's a cool thing to listen to all the way through. And of course, a very special thank you to the Kings of the Pattersons, Mike Shima, Riley Booth, Mike Erdahl, Brandon Decker, Randy, and Honeybeard. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. I'm losing my voice. I didn't sleep. I got insomnia. Ooh. And the kids start school soon, so another thing to add to my list. I hope you all have a lovely day. Tune in next time to BeyondSynth. It's the best synthwave chat show there is. Don't forget to support BeyondSynth on Patreon. That's patreon.com/BeyondSynth for bonus content. New episodes of Color Theory and BeyondSynth Talk About Depeche Mode are coming, and a few other shows are coming as well. And there's some movie commentaries with Mike and I. We got Roadhouse 2024 and the 1950 version of The Fast and the Furious. And of course, some bonus content. I think there was even some from this episode. I think it was like 15 minutes of additional shit or whatever. So, okay, I'm out of here. Have a lovely day, and I will talk to you next time on Beyond Synth. It's the best synthwave chat show there is.
Beyond Synth Radio is produced by Andy Last. Check the show notes for more information on the musicians featured on the show. Consider supporting Beyond Synth at patreon.com/BeyondSynth. Thanks for listening.